Hi, I'm Hayes. Today I'm going to tell you my story. But before I continue, please like, share, and subscribe to hear more stories like this. So I've been at Apex Marketing for 5 years now. Started as just another account manager, but worked my way up to senior project lead. Things were going pretty good until Morgan transferred to our department about 8 months ago. From day one, something felt off, I said to my buddy Devin over lunch in the break room. What do you mean? She seems nice enough, Devin replied, unwrapping his sandwich. That's just it. She's all smiles to your face, especially to the higher-ups, but then I keep hearing about comments she makes when I'm not around. Like what? Like how my last campaign barely hit its targets or how I lucked into the Westfield account, I explained. Little things, but they add up, you know. Maybe you're being paranoid, man, Devin said, shrugging. Maybe, but I don't think so. Have you talked to her about it? I tried once. She denied everything, said I was misinterpreting things, I said, making air quotes. Made me feel like I was the crazy one. Classic gaslighting, Devin nodded. The worst part is, she's got Allison and Trevor believing her version of everything. The three of them are like this little clique now. Office politics, man. Just focus on your work. That's what I've been doing, but it's getting harder. We've got those 3 director positions opening up next month, and I know we're all in the running. You worried? Honestly, yeah. Morgan's been spending a lot of time with Vanessa from HR lately. They're suddenly workout buddies or something, and Vanessa sits in on all the promotion discussions. That doesn't mean anything, Devin assured me. Keller knows good work when he sees it. I hope you're right, I sighed, because Morgan's gunning for me, and I don't know why. 2 weeks later, I was working late, finishing up a presentation, when I overheard voices from the conference room. So it's settled then? That was Morgan's voice. I think we can all agree Hayes isn't director material, came Trevor's reply. Definitely not, Allison chimed in. Did you see his quarterly review numbers? Barely above average. Because you two took the Westfield follow-up after I did all the groundwork, I wanted to shout, but instead I inched closer to the door. The problem is, he's been here longer than any of us, Morgan continued. Keller might feel obligated to promote him based on seniority. So what's the plan? Trevor asked. I've been thinking, Morgan said, her voice dropping lower. What if we coordinate our presentations for the Johnston pitch next week? We each emphasize different strengths, make it look like a cohesive team effort, but we subtly undermine Hayes' contribution. How? Allison asked. Just little things. References to delays in his section. Maybe mention how you had to step in and help at the last minute. That seems, I don't know, kind of sketchy, Trevor said, hesitating. Do you want that promotion or not? Morgan snapped. Hayes is fine where he is. He's hit his ceiling. We're doing the company a favor by making sure the right people move up. I backed away silently, heart pounding. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They were actively plotting to sabotage me. But now I knew, and knowledge is power, right? They said what? Devin exclaimed the next morning when I filled him in. Exactly what I told you. They're planning to undermine me during the Johnston pitch, I explained. And the worst part is they're doing it so subtly that if I call them out, I'll look paranoid. What are you going to do? I leaned forward. I'm not sure yet, but I'm not going down without a fight. Later that day, I was at my desk when Vanessa from HR approached. Hayes, do you have a minute? She asked, her expression unreadable. Sure, I replied, trying to sound casual while my stomach knotted. Had Morgan already been filling her head with stories about me? In Vanessa's office, she closed the door. I wanted to get your input on the team dynamics in your department. Oh? I kept my face neutral. Yes, there have been concerns about collaboration styles. I chose my words carefully. I've always believed in transparent communication and giving credit where it's due. That's good to hear, she nodded, because the director positions will require someone who can lead by example, not just manage projects. Was she fishing for something specific? I couldn't tell. Absolutely, leadership means integrity and supporting your team members, not undermining them, I replied. Vanessa studied me for a moment. Interesting you should say that. There have been some discussions about the working relationship between you and some of your colleagues. Really? What kind of discussions? I asked, keeping my tone light. Just observations. Nothing formal, she said, waving her hand dismissively. But since you're here, how would you describe your working relationship with Morgan, Trevor, and Allison? So this was it. Morgan had been in her ear. We have different approaches to problem solving, I said diplomatically, but I've always respected their contributions. And they yours? She pressed. I paused, weighing my options. Go on the defensive and confirm whatever Morgan had told her, or take a different approach. I'd like to think so, I said finally. But professional relationships are complex. We're all competing for the same promotions, after all. Vanessa nodded, seemingly satisfied with my answer. Well, that's all I wanted to discuss. Thanks for your time, Hayes. As I left her office, I couldn't shake the feeling I'd just been tested. But had I passed? The day of the Johnston pitch arrived, and I was ready. I'd spent the weekend revising my section, strengthening any potential weaknesses Morgan and her crew might try to exploit. Everyone prepared? Keller asked as we gathered in the conference room. Our CEO, James Ramirez, would be sitting in as well. High stakes for everyone. Absolutely, Morgan replied with a confident smile, shooting a quick glance at Trevor and Allison. I just nodded, focusing on my materials. The pitch began, with Trevor going first, then Allison. Just as I'd overheard, they were subtly setting me up. Comments like, despite some initial timeline concerns and after reworking some of the earlier concepts, peppered their presentations. When Morgan took over, she was even more direct. While the initial approach had merit, I felt we needed something more innovative, she said, referencing work I'd done without naming me directly. Then it was my turn. Instead of defending myself or calling them out, I did something unexpected. Before I begin my section, I want to acknowledge the incredible work my colleagues have done, I started. Trevor's market analysis was thorough and insightful. Allison's creative strategy builds perfectly on that foundation, and Morgan's innovative approach ties everything together beautifully. The confused looks on their faces were priceless. In fact, I continued, their contributions were so valuable that I revised my own section to complement their work more effectively. I launched into my presentation, which now incorporated direct responses to their subtle criticisms, turning them into strengths. By the time I finished, the energy in the room had shifted. Where Morgan, Trevor, and Allison had tried to isolate me, I'd repositioned myself as the team player who brought everything together. Excellent work, everyone, Keller said when we finished. Especially you, Hayes. I appreciate how you highlighted the team's collaborative process. Morgan looked like she'd swallowed something sour. After the meeting, Ramirez, our CEO, stopped me in the hallway. That was impressive, Hayes. Thank you, sir. Just doing my job. No, I mean how you handled the situation. Not everyone would have been so gracious. I froze. Did he know what had been happening? Your colleagues weren't exactly subtle with their approach, he continued, lowering his voice. I've been around long enough to recognize office politics when I see it. I didn't want to make it an issue, I admitted. Sometimes the best response to pettiness is professionalism, he nodded. Keep that in mind for the future. Good leaders rise above. As he walked away, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, the right people had been paying attention all along. 3 days later, Keller called me into his office. Close the door, Hayes, he said, his expression serious. My stomach dropped. Had I misread everything? Was this where he told me I wasn't getting promoted? I've been watching the dynamics in your team for some time now, he began. Sir, if this is about, he held up a hand. Let me finish. I've noticed certain behaviors that concern me, not from you, but from others. I remained silent, unsure where this was going. The Johnston pitch confirmed what I'd suspected, he continued. Morgan, Trevor, and Allison have formed what you might call a coalition. Their collaborative approach has yielded results, but at what cost? I'm not sure I follow, I said cautiously. Don't you? They've been systematically trying to undermine you for months. Subtle comments in meetings, taking credit for your ideas, excluding you from discussions. Yes, I've noticed, I admitted. And yet you never complained. Never threw them under the bus, even when they deserved it. He leaned forward. That's the kind of leadership I'm looking for, Hayes. Was he saying what I thought he was saying? Sir, the director announcements are next week. But before that happens, I have a proposition for you. He slid a folder across the desk. Take a look. Inside was a proposal for a new department structure, 3 director positions as planned, but also a new senior director role that would oversee them. You want me to apply for the senior position? I asked, my heart racing. I want you to take it, Keller corrected, effective immediately after the announcements. But what about the formal review process? Ramirez and I have discussed it. Your handling of the Johnston pitch was the final piece we needed. You demonstrated exactly the kind of leadership we value. I was speechless. There's one more thing, Keller added. Traditionally, the most senior team member makes the promotion announcements. That would be you. The irony wasn't lost on me. So I'd be announcing their promotions? Poetic, isn't it? Keller smiled. Unless you prefer not to. I thought about it for a moment. The perfect revenge would be to deny them this moment of glory, but that wasn't leadership. No, I'd be honored to make the announcements, I said finally. The day of the promotion announcements arrived. The entire department gathered in the main conference room, the air thick with anticipation. Morgan, Trevor, and Allison sat together, confident smiles on their faces. Keller opened the meeting. As you all know, we've been evaluating candidates for our new director positions. It's been a thorough process, and I'm confident we've made the right decisions. He paused. But before I reveal those decisions, I have another announcement. Murmurs rippled through the room. We're creating a new senior director position to oversee our expanded operations. This role requires not just skill and experience, but integrity, collaborative spirit, and true leadership. He looked around the room. I'm pleased to announce that Hayes will be taking on this new role, effective immediately. The shock on Morgan's face was everything I could have hoped for. Trevor and Allison looked confused, then concerned, as the implication sank in. Congratulations, Hayes, Keller said, gesturing for me to join him at the front of the room. Would you like to say a few words? I stepped forward, feeling every eye on me. Thank you, Mr. Keller. I'm honored and excited about this new challenge. Then, I turned to face my colleagues. And now, as my first official act as senior director, I have the privilege of announcing our new directors. Morgan's expression shifted from shock to something closer to panic. She hadn't expected this twist. Our new marketing director is... I paused, making eye contact with Morgan. Devin Taylor. Devin's surprised cheer and the applause that followed masked Morgan's sharp intake of breath. Our new creative director is Allison Chen. Allison's face registered confusion, then relief, then a flicker of guilt as she glanced at Morgan. And our new operations director is Trevor Washington. Trevor couldn't hide his smile, though he too shot an uncomfortable look at Morgan. And finally, I continued, I'd like to recognize Morgan Reynolds. Morgan straightened, her expression a mix of hope and suspicion. Morgan will be leading our new client relations team, reporting directly to me. Not a demotion technically, but definitely not what she'd been expecting. A lateral move at best, under my direct supervision at worst. I look forward to working closely with all of you as we move Apex Marketing into its next chapter, I concluded, my gaze lingering on Morgan. My door is always open. The meeting dispersed, with people offering congratulations. Eventually, only Morgan and I remained in the conference room. Was this your plan all along? She asked, her voice tight. To humiliate me? No, Morgan, that was your plan for me, remember? I kept my voice level. The difference is, I didn't have to resort to undermining colleagues to get ahead. I don't know what you're talking about, she tried, but her heart wasn't in the denial. Yes, you do. Conference room 2 weeks ago. You, Trevor, and Allison plotting to sabotage my Johnston pitch. I watched realization dawn on her face. Yeah, I heard everything. So this is revenge? Putting me under your supervision? This is consequences, Morgan. But here's the difference between us. I'm offering you a fresh start. You have valuable skills, but your approach was all wrong. Work with me, not against me, and we'll both succeed. She stared at me for a long moment, calculation visible in her eyes. You really expect me to believe you're not just waiting to fire me? I could have recommended that today, I pointed out. I didn't. The past is done, but what happens next is up to you. As I left the room, I heard her call out, "This isn't over, Hayes." I turned back. You're right, it's just beginning, but how it plays out is your choice. See you Monday, bright and early. 6 months later, I was in Keller's office for my first senior director review. Impressive results across the board, Keller nodded, looking over my reports, especially from the client relations team. Morgan's really turned things around. She just needed the right motivation, I said. And it was true. After a few rough weeks, Morgan had realized her options were limited. She could continue her vendetta and lose or adapt and thrive. She chose the latter. And Trevor and Allison, both exceeding expectations. Allison's even mentoring 2 junior designers now. So, the team that once conspired against you is now your strongest asset, Keller observed. That's quite a turnaround. I shrugged. People respond to how you treat them. I gave them all a clean slate and clear expectations. Even Morgan? Especially Morgan. She's actually the most driven of the 3. She just needed to channel that energy in the right direction. Keller leaned back in his chair. You know, when Ramirez and I discussed this plan, he wasn't convinced Morgan could change. He thought you might be too soft on her, given what happened. Revenge isn't leadership, I replied. Besides, she's too valuable to lose over office politics. And there it is, Keller smiled. That's exactly why you're sitting where you are now, Hayes. As I left his office, I passed Morgan in the hallway. She was deep in conversation with a client, her professional smile firmly in place. When she saw me, she nodded respectfully before returning to her call. It wasn't friendship, and it probably never would be. But it was something better, mutual respect born from understanding exactly where we stood with each other. She had wanted to shame me into staying small, into shrinking myself to make room for her ambition. Instead, I grew larger than either of us expected, and in the process created space for her to grow too, just not at my expense. That's the thing about real leadership. Sometimes the best revenge isn't pushing others down, but lifting yourself up so high that they have no choice but to look up to you. So that's my story, folks. Thanks for listening. But it makes me wonder, if you were in my position, would you have given Morgan a second chance, or would you have shown her the door? What do you think is the best way to handle workplace sabotage? Firm consequences or clean slates? Let me know in the comments.